today's video, we're going to create labels for these baskets that I got from Kmart to update my craft space. Let's make this. My inspiration this week, same as last week, it is to organise my little craft shelf a little bit better and make it look like it is more cohesive and match my lovely little pen cup that I did last year for one of the tutorials. I'm going to take inspiration from the magnetic bookmarks as well as a bit of inspiration from sticker making. So we'll see what we can do by combining all of those things together. There aren't a lot of materials, but they're big. So I've got a light grip mat. I've got some white cardstock. I've got some sticker paper, the matte stuff from Kodak that I got from Officeworks. I've got some little round magnets that I think I got from Amazon. And then I've got my basket and my clear containers. So I've got a few of the baskets and I've got a few of the containers to do. So this week we're going to use Design Space again. We're following on from last week's tutorial where we created the splash vinyl labels for the magazine holders and the pencil cases. This time we're going to create cardboard magnets and we're going to create some stickers. So I've started by creating two shapes. One that is the shape that's the size that I could use for the baskets, which is 8 by 6 centimeters. And then I've got an 8 by 3 centimeter shape for the stickers. Then what I'm going to do is go into uploads to find the image of the splash. So I've gone into upload, then on the right hand side I've clicked on the search uploaded images and I've clicked on splash. Now I've got the 3 splashes there. I'm going to choose the circle one for this one. We're going to start by creating the magnets. So I'm going to add that to my canvas and then I'm going to change the color. I'm going to change the size first. I'm just going to make it a bit smaller, but that's not going to be its final size. But I'm going to change the color. Now I'm going to change the color by changing the hex code. Now, if you want to go back and have a look at the Cricut name tags that I created earlier this year, that will go through the different processes of collecting colors for your designs. And 2 of them talk about how to get hex codes for your designs. So, but I've got mine because I've used Canva, and Canva also provides the hex code that allows you to change the color inside Design Space. So I've changed the splash to the pink, so it's that bright pink color. And then I'm going to start with my text. So I've got acrylic blanks as my first one. I'm going to use the same font as I used for the magazine folders. So it's going to be that super funky font. And again, because we did this last week, I know that my line space should be about -4, but I'm going to go a bit smaller for this one and I'm going to -6. And then I need to now play around with what I want it to look like. So I'm going to just do some size manipulation. It just needs to fit inside that 8 by 6 black square that I've created. It doesn't mean that it has to be that big, it just needs to fit in there. I'm going to do a little bit of overlapping. So I've got the splash in the background and then I've got the acrylic blanks on top of it, and I've just lined it up so that it fits nicely inside that square. Then I've gone and selected both of them, gone up to a line and center vertically. So it means that they're going to be in line crossways rather than up and down. I'm changing the color of the text to the blue that I use for my logo. So it's my Honey Neats logo. It's got the pink, the blue and the yellow. And then I'm creating a 0.1 centimeter offset and it's going to be black. And I think I might leave it at black. Then I'm going to select the whole thing and I'm going to copy it because we're going to use that whole process again. Then I go back to my original one and I'm going to now do another offset and I'm going to make it a 0.3 offset for this one. Now I'm going to, those 2 offsets then blend into each other. So I'm going to change it to maybe a yellow. Yeah, I think the yellow. So that's the third colour in my logo. So I've got the yellow. Then we're essentially kind of making it like a bookmark, like a magnetic bookmark. So I need to create a shape that will go over the loop of that will loop over the handle of my basket. So I found that 2.5 centimeters seems to be a pretty good width for those. And then for this one in particular, I'm then going to do a 10 centimeter height. Now I can change that and manipulate that later. And I'm just changing it to yellow because I want the whole thing to have that yellow follow it through. And looking at it now, I think that that splash needs a little offset. So I'm just going to do a 0.1 centimeter offset, and I think I'm going to change that to white. Yeah, that looks cool. Yeah, I really like it. Looks good on the screen anyway. So now that those two are overlapping, and I've moved the rectangle to the behind the acrylic blanks sign, I'm now going to select both and I'm going to flatten them. So that means it now becomes a print and cut. And if I was making a bookmark, I would probably have put the acrylic blanks reverse on the other end of that. But for this project, because we're not ever going to see the back of that because it sits inside our basket, I don't think you need to use the extra ink or the extra cardboard or the cardstock. So I've just left it as a square at the end. Now it's a matter of repeating that process. I'm going to make 5 of these, one for each of my baskets. So I'm just going to speed that up. As I went through, I decided just to shorten them a little bit too because I think that 10 centimeters was way too long. So I've just shortened them out a bit so that it just looks a little bit neater. It's probably going to fit better on the cardstock as well. All right, now it's time to make the stickers. So I'm going to follow that same process by going into Upload, clicking on Images, going to the right-hand side and typing Splash, and then I'm going to choose a different splash this time. So I've got the whole circle one, and this time it's going to be like, I don't know what it looks like. It looks like a kind of a foot. I don't know. I can't tell. If anyone has any ideas of what you think it looks like, let me know. And so this time I'm going to use a little bit, I'm going to use the same color scheme, but I'm going to make it look a little bit different. So I'm doing 3 of these. I only need 3 stickers so far. I've got another couple of boxes, but I don't need those boxes just at this stage because I don't have anything in them. Eventually I will, I'm sure. So I've put that yellow splash in there and I've done a 0.1 offset and I have left that black. So I've got a blue rectangle that is 8 by 3 centimeters, and then I've got my yellow splash with a black offset around the outside. So again, I'm using the super funky script. I've done a line space of -6, and now I'm just sizing it. I'm going to select the whole thing and I'm going to center it vertically, so then it is the words Etsy supplies are right in that center of the sticker. Then I'm going to do an offset of 0.1. I'm going to change that offset to white, and then as I play around with it, I'm just going to make that little splash a little bit smaller, and then I'm going to do an offset around the whole sticker. I'm going to start with 0.1. I'm going to make that yellow. So you can see that there's a little bit of continuity between the yellow splash and the yellow on the outside. And I think that was a little too small. So I'm going to try again. I'm going to change that offset to 0.2. That might be better. I reckon that's probably better. And I'm going to change that to yellow. I'm going to make sure that that width is back to 8. So because we've added an offset, which is 0.2 centimeters. It's actually 0.2 centimeters on one side of the sticker and the other side of the sticker. So you do need to make sure that you are accounting for that. If you are adding offsets, you're going to have to look and make sure that it still fits into the parameters that you've given yourself. So that's why I just changed that size back down to 8. And then I'm going to select the whole thing, duplicate it, and repeat that process. Before you start typing, make sure that you get rid of the offset from the duplication, because that offset doesn't change with the text you type, which is annoying. I wish it would. I wish you'd be able to just type your text and it changes the offset as you go. Hopefully that's eventually going to be an update that Design Space provides. But at this stage, the offset is a separate entity and it's a separate element. So it doesn't then change with whatever you type. So you will need to just make sure that you're conscious of that. Then once I've created all 3, I just need to flatten each of those because, again, we're going to do a print and cut for these. We're going to print this on sticker paper. Make sure you've saved this because this is something that you can go back and update or change as your craft supplies change or increase or decrease. So definitely save this project so you can go back because it took us a little bit of time. It took me 26 minutes to do this component of the actual project. So you don't want to have to then go and spend another 26 minutes fixing that up. So I've gone in and I can see, once I've done the make, I can see that some of these prints, I could probably fit more on there. And I reckon I can fit all 6 if I try. So I'm going to have a play around and do a little bit of manipulation because Design Space, when they do a make and get your cut ready, I don't know why, but they seem to just do it whatever's going to be easiest for them. Whereas with what we're doing, we want to save our supplies. And you know what? It could be just conspiracy theory here, but it could be that Cricut just wants you to buy more stuff. But if I play around with this, you can see I can fit all 6 of these magnets onto one sheet of cardstock. So why not? Why not do that? So just play around with that to make it fit. And then after I've gone through all of that, can anyone see the big mistake I made? Forgot to flatten. I knew in my head I had to flatten all of these, but I didn't do it. So it's all come out as a whole heap of different cuts. So I had to go back and redo this process. So just make sure that you do flatten them. And if you do get into the make component of it and you do find that you have 4 or 5 different mats that you weren't expecting, maybe that's what you've done wrong, which is exactly what I did. So now I have to go through that process again of moving the magnets and the stickers around because now it thinks the stickers, so I want 1 page of sticker paper and I want 1 page of cardstock, but it doesn't know that because it's a computer. We need to tell it what it needs. So play around with it, get it all on the mats that you need. Now that it's all in the right spot, I'm just going to hit continue. So both of these are going to be a print and cut. So I'm going to start with the bookmarks. Now, I got very excited, but I got myself a inkjet printer. So now the cardboard prints are so much better. So I'm going to make sure I've chosen the right printer for this. And then so much better for cardstock, so much better for sticker paper, but regular paper, still with the laser cutter. So I've chosen the right printer. I've made sure that I've clicked printer settings, and then I need to change the media. So I'm doing a feed from the rear tray, and then I just need to choose the right paper. Now, it doesn't give me as many options, so I just kind of have to have a guess. I figure it's going to be a bit of a photo thickness because it's really just choosing a thickness rather than anything else. But you need to make sure that you're choosing best quality. and then hit print, feed the paper through, and then I repeat that process for the sticker. Again, I think I'm going to have to just have a guess at what kind of paper that would be using. And then when I do my cuts, I'm going to do a medium cardstock for my magnets. And then when I've printed it, I'm going to set the base material to washi. I have heard that if I do a washi setting, it's good for kiss cuts. So I'm going to try it out. So I'm going to do the washi sheet. I've left it at default, and then I just go through and do the cuts. So let's get on to the next step. Because most of the production is actually done in Design Space and with the printer and cutting, the production of this is actually really quite straightforward and very simple. So all it is a matter of attaching these magnets. Now these magnets are self-adhesive even, so all you have to do is remove the backing, stick it on. I stick them on so that they are actually facing each other. The reason that I do that is because once you do put one down, if you try and make it so that it's positioned in the exact same spot as the other one and try and be symmetrical, you can see that it actually doesn't sit directly on, the other magnet doesn't sit directly on top. So if you try and do a bit of a line up using a ruler or using any kind of measuring tool, you'll find that the magnet or the bookmark or whatever it is that you're creating, because you do this same process with bookmarks, it actually won't line up properly. So you're better off putting one magnet down and then putting the other magnet on top face to face, and then removing the adhesive and then flicking it over. So that's really all it takes. You could have laminated these if you want to. The reason I'm not laminating them is because as you do crafting and as you change bits and pieces, then you don't want to put too much effort into it, even though we've put effort into it. Does that make sense? So I just don't want to, didn't think it needed laminating. I'm not touching them all the time. I'm not reusing them in different ways like a bookmark. So I'm just going to go without the laminate, but you could if you wanted to. You can see I've tested it. I wasn't sure whether or not this would work through the plastic, but you can see with the tester one that it works. So my Cricut supplies box has this beautiful label on it now. So I'm just going to repeat that process for all of them, and then I can move on to putting the stickers on the boxes. And with the stickers, all I need to do is just put them on. So I have tested, you saw before, I tested that the sticker was actually going to lift. It lifted, but I probably could have done either a heavier run through or done a double cut, because I do need to use my weeding tool just to lift it, because it has got a couple of little spots where it hasn't cut through properly. So my suggestion to you on the washi cut is maybe to do it a twice run through or more pressure. But don't they look good? I think they're cute. I like how it's uniform and it fits with the other basket one as well, with the magnets. So yeah, I like it. I really like it. Now that the whole thing's done, I can see that there's a lot of cohesiveness in my choices, and I can see that it all matches that cute little pen cup I did last year. Full disclosure though, some of the magnets worked, some of the magnets didn't, and I'm not sure why, because it's all of the baskets are the same. So they're all came up baskets, but for some reason, some of the magnets have been able to attach to each other through the plastic, and then a couple haven't. So it's weird, but you know, that's what happens when you buy, I guess, magnets from Amazon or wherever I got them from. You can't always guarantee that it's going to sit through something that thick. So maybe if you were going to do it and you really wanted to do it properly, maybe choose the super strong magnets. They might work a little bit better. But for most of them, so 3 out of the 5, they've worked. For 2, it hasn't. I don't know why. But anyway, and then the final result. So from last week's project through to this week's project, it all really looks like it matches, and it is something that I've got a little bit of cohesiveness with what I've done. So it's been a great project. I think if you were looking at how to get into more print and cut projects, because we've looked at cardstock and we've also looked at stickers. So a lot of offsetting and things like that. So I think it was a great project for beginners, great project if you are looking to sort out your craft room in particular. I can't wait to see you next week for our next project. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget, you can always jump on my Instagram, head over to my Etsy store, or even check out the videos YouTube recommends for you down below.